I have to start with the good news because as an Israeli, if I didn't mention it, I feel like that you guys missed something. So, Rebecca, can you put the first few photos and I will share it with you, the news, okay?
Thanks, Becca.
Okay, so on the left, yesterday, Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke at the United Nations, and he's holding two maps there yesterday. One of them, it's very, very related to our parsha today. One of them has to do with the blessing, what Israel is contributing to the world, with power, energy, agriculture inventions, and so forth. Which represent Israel, and the left map is about the curse of Iran and how Iran is poisoning the world, and Americans and French and Jews and all over the world. People are affected by the Iranians. This guy on the right, Hassan Nasrallah, yesterday was eliminated by the Israeli IDF. It's a big victory and brought a lot of pride to the Israelis. I feel today, as you felt after the 6-Day War, I feel today as we felt after the Entebbe operation. More so, I feel today like we felt when we bombed the nuclear in Iraq and so forth. This is one of the greatest victories. This guy was on the right, 32 years of the greatest enemy of the world, not just Israel. He created a lot of terrorists all over the country. Yesterday at 6:00 p.m., we sent the aircrafts, and 80 tons of explosives took care of his bunker and himself. And an hour ago, I just heard that one more person was taken care. His name is I don't know if you see it from here. The chief of El Quds forces in Lebanon and Syria. He is actually Iranian, also was taken care, and so that. So this is a good thing. And at the end of the presentation yesterday, Netanyahu said at the United Nations, Am Israel Chai, and I had tears in my eyes when I heard it. I want to play it for you at the end of the presentation today, just to show you how he ended his speech yesterday. Next two sets of pictures is look what happened in the last 10 days. This is this map of Israel. This is my hometown on the right, Tel Aviv, right here. Look how many explosives were sent from the north by the guy that I showed you earlier to Israel. You're talking about people. Most of the people live in this center of Israel. We're talking about over 2 million people living where the red dots are. And the ammunition from the north came to, the explosive from the north came to those areas. It's the Dan County, the Yarkon County, all of them are around Tel Aviv, within a half-hour drive from Tel Aviv. So you can see the maps, what happened in just the last few days. Okay, next two sets. Okay. So that's the last one. Just to share some nachas, on the left side, my daughter Rani, on the left side, came from Israel this yesterday evening, after serving as an eye surgeon, pediatric surgeon at Beth Cholim Soroka in Beersheba. So she just came back after volunteering for 2 weeks. Oh. And I was very proud of her because it was very, it's a major challenge, and she worked with students and helped them. And on the right, last night, Hannah and I and the president of Towson, we had a Shabbat dinner with the Jewish Hillel students at Towson University. So that's the president who is so nice of Towson University, a nice guy. He will come to Bethel to speak to us soon. Just took it 30 seconds to share with you. Okay.
It's such a nice thing to hear with all that's been going on the past year and Erev, the holiday, Rosh Hashanah. It really sort of brings tears to my eyes that it'll be a better year. I really get very, like they said, verklempt. Getting like Mike Myers. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'm going to show you one picture, and I'm going to ask you, it's the question of the one photo, that the question is why, the next one is why the Operation Solomon, which brought 15,000 Ethiopians, why did I bring it to today's parsha? And one thing is, if we can make the picture a little bit larger, can you tell me where are these people are sitting at the end of the class. And why did I bring it to today's parsha and how it connects with the parsha of today? Okay. I would say in this little room here, I mean, you can see a lot of people seated down, very crowded. Okay, we're going to move and start. Are there any comments thus far? No? Yes? Let's
Yes,
move.
because, we read a book with Rabbi Schwartz called From, I think I want to say From Ethiopia to Jerusalem. They all came crowded on that plane. They crowded unbelievable amounts, and they sat on the floor. So I think that's the plane. I think that picture of that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Eyal, thank you for starting our day and our Shabbat with such wonderful, wonderful news. Thank you.
Sure. Sure. The war is not over. Don't misunderstand me. We're going to have many challenges days ahead of us. And it's not a victory yet, you know.
No, but you know, as you said, Eyal, it infuses us with pride and hope, because now we're again on the proactive side rather than being reactive as we have for 14, 15, 20, 30 years, trying to hold off the worst at bay. That didn't work. So we have to go back to fighting the enemy with strength and not being concerned about our would-be allies trying to force us into actions much to our detriment.
Well said. I agree. Thank you. Amen.
And,
Yes.
and I thought Netanyahu denounced the UN's anti-Semitism very strongly.
Very strongly. Yes. Yeah. He had a very strong message yesterday. And if you listen to the speech, his message was very directed to Israelis too, to the people from Israel. He was very encouraging. And at the time that he gave that speech, we took care of Nasrallah. At the same time that he was speaking to the people, we took care. We did that operation.
Yeah.
Eyal,
Yeah.
I watched Netanyahu speak at the UN, and I was very troubled by how many people left before he started to talk. I think, doesn't that defeat the purpose of the United Nations?
That's not new thing.
I know it's not new, but what a statement that was.
Well,
Right.
yeah, but on the other hand, I just think it goes to show those were our arch enemies, but even our friends do not stand up for us. So therefore, we have to do what we think we must do to survive and thrive. And if they don't come along out loud, to our credit, so be it. But we know secretly, of course, we're helping the entire Western world, if not the Arab world. But we don't need to get the covet if they won't give it, but neither do we have to go along with these ill-advised plans for immediate ceasefires and worrying so much about all the innocent Palestinians. How about all the innocent Israelis? So,
Yep. So let's take the time to start the parsha, if you don't mind. And Meryl, I want to tell you that what is this parsha about? In 4 lines, I summarized each parsha. If Meryl, can you read Nitzavim? Just the Nitzavim?
thank you. The Israelites are standing before God as Moshe delivers a covenantal message. He emphasized that this covenant is for all present and future generations. Moshe speaks of the blessings and curses, the importance of choosing life and following God's commandments, and the accessibility of the Torah, emphasizing that it's not in heaven, but close to each person.
Thank you. And if you listen to Netanyahu's speech, it really refers to this paragraph. I beg you, I ask you, listen to his speech and you'll see how close is that paragraph to Netanyahu's speech yesterday. Someone who helped him to write the speech connected to this parsha with what he said yesterday in front of the United Nations. Judy, so the second part is Vayeilech. Can you read Moses, the second paragraph? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Moses informs the people that he is 120 years old and will not be leading them into the promised land. He encourages them to be strong and courageous as Joshua will take over leadership. Moses writes down the Torah, gives it to the priests, and instructs them to read it publicly every 7 years during Sukkot. He predicts that Israel will stray from God's path, but the Torah will serve as witness to guide them back.
Fantastic. So those are the two. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Meryl. Those are the two portions together that we combined today. And can someone tell me what is Nitzavim in Hebrew? Nitzavim.
Standing, stands.
Standing. Nitzavim is people who are standing. Nitzav. Also, when what's Vayeilech? Vayeilech.
Go. To go.
Okay. But Vayeilech itself created a whole sentence. Do you know that? It means in English, and he
went.
Went. It's a whole sentence. The va makes it past tense. Yelech. Vayeilech. It says, and he went. So that's a one word. So we have two parshas combined, Nitzavim, Vayeilech. Now I'm going to give you just the themes of the parsha. There are 5 themes in the whole parsha here. So Beverly, can you read the first one and the second
Sure.
one? Just those are the
Yes.
key themes of the parsha.
Covenant and commitment. The renewal of the covenant serves as a powerful reminder that the Torah's teachings and God's promises are binding on every generation, past, present, and future.
Thank you. Read the second one. Choices.
Choices and responsibility. The call to choose life emphasizes that we have the power to make choices that shape our lives. It highlights the importance of personal responsibility in following God's path.
And how real it is before the high holidays that we're going to start this week. How relevant this parsha is for the high holidays. Patty, can you read the next one? Leadership and succession. Okay. Meryl, read the next one. Leadership and succession.
Leadership and succession. Patty, you're muted. Moshe's transfer of leadership to Joshua illustrates the need for strong, courageous leaders who will continue guiding the community with wisdom and integrity.
So this parsha will show you, if Moshe was a great leader, I think in this parsha is the greatest leader. Among the best performances of Moses are introduced in this parsha. 4, Becca, can you move it down, please? Okay, I'll read the next one. Repentance and return. The promise that God will welcome the Israelis back, even after they stray, underscores the themes of tshuva, repentance. It teaches that no matter how far we may wander, we always have the opportunity to return to God. And how relevant is this for the high holidays, just before the Chagim, the Rosh Hashanah? And the last one, Richard, can you please read the last one, please? Accessibility.
By stating that the Torah is not in heaven, but very near, Parsha emphasizes that spiritual wisdom is available by everyone. It challenges us to engage with the text, internalize its teachings, and live by values.
Okay, thank you so much. So here we are. Those are the 5 main themes of the Parsha. And if we go farther, I'm going to so it talks about those are the things that we're going to deal today. Don't know if we'll finish it. Who must attend the covenant and gathering? Okay, you will see that it's a very democratic system. Everyone is there. Okay, everyone is there attending it. And why are the wood choppers and the water drawer singled out? This is a very interesting point. It's the rich, the poor, the blue collar laborer, and everyone is part of this deal. Willful heart, what does it mean? What does it mean? Who are not with us today, this day? How come the covenant is talking about people who are not with us? Who are the people that are not with us? We're talking about future generations, okay? So look how ahead this parsha is thinking forward parsha. General question, how is the ingathering of the exiles being described in this parsha? And think about the pictures that I showed you at the beginning of the class today in the little room there, which Beverly told us the secret of that. It's actually an airplane, okay? And can we move forward? Next one, it's okay. Now, these are philosophical questions, and everyone before Rosh Hashanah, please, ladies and gentlemen, think about those questions as if you are, they mean to you. What does it mean for you that the Torah is very near to you in your mouth and your heart? Again, something related to Rosh Hashanah. So how does Moses feel when he is aware that he will no longer be with the people? You know what? 120 years. And now he's no longer going to be with the people. He doesn't see the dream that he was hoping for. He cannot cross the river. What do you think of the discussion between him and Joshua? You will see they're talking, Joshua and Moses talking in the tent. What kind of discussion they had in the tent? What did they say that we don't know, but we can interpret it? Okay. So the next one again about the high holidays. How does the concept of choosing between life and death, blessing and curse resonate in your own life? Okay. Those things that you can think after the parsha. What does it mean to be part of a covenant that extends to those who come before us and those who will come after us? That's what I mentioned earlier. How do you see the theme of leadership playing out in your own workplace, family, and among your friends? You know, leaders are, we see them all the time. You see a leader in your family, in your work site, in your country, leaders of the country. And so how does it really play out in your own, life? Okay. Now, this is a high holiday reflection question. What is one way you can choose life in honor of the new year, in your way? Okay. And we are moving forward and we're going to start pretty soon. You can read it after if we don't have time. This I found a text, a commentary by, so if you can read it after, and if we have time, we'll do it. There are two more of these nice stories about the parsha. And does anyone know where Moses is buried? Anyone knows where he's buried? I would love you to read that at the end of the class. And if we don't know where he's buried, but if we
Bethel
knew,
Memorial Park.
there are plenty of Moseses there. Yeah. So anyhow, we're gonna go later at the end. That's not important.
Okay, you want me to start?
To start reading? Yes. Wow. Yeah.
Jumping right
Stand
in.
this day, all of you, before the Lord your God, your tribal heads, your elders, your officials, all of the men of Israel, your children, your wives, even the stranger within your camp, from wood chopper to water drawer, to enter
Go ahead.
to enter into the covenant of the Lord your God, which the Lord your God is concluding with you this day, with its sanctions, to the end that he may establish you this day as his people and be your God, as he promised you and he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Up to here. Eddie, thank you. Up to here. So what kind of values do you hear from these first few sentences, phrases? What do we see here about values, about everyone that is involved here?
As you said, it's quite democratic. So yes, it includes the elders, but not only the elders, it includes women, children, and even the people who aren't part of the covenant, the strangers, the idol worshipers, whatever, because if they live in the midst of the community, they can reap the benefit and contribute in some way. And some commentaries say that the woodcutter and the water drawer refer to the laborers, the alien laborers, the strangers among themselves. So even they should learn what their community is all about and participate in some way.
Great answer. Anyone wants to add to that, to that phrase? No, if not, we can move on. So it's a very, as you said, everyone is involved. David, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you.
Well, I think the key is that it deals with the people who were there, but also the people who are not there.
Yes. Aren't we part of that? It's about us too, our children, our grandchildren, everyone up to the next generation. Thank you, Eddie. David, what did you want to say, please?
In verse 10, when I read the wood chopper and the water drawer, I immediately go back to the final plague, plague 10, that the death of the firstborn included everyone, even those in the jail of the wood chopper and the water drawer. It's a nice tie back to earlier in our Chumash, that it becomes full circle.
Wow.
That's
wonderful.
great.
Great point.
And
Excellent.
to segue on that, we individually may be flawed, but together we're powerful, and the community is what's important as a group.
Yep. Since you were the last speaker, can you be the next reader, please, Sandy? Can you please read the
Sure.
next? We're on 13. I make this.
My glasses, yes. 13. Okay. Yes. I make this covenant with its sanctions, not with you alone, but those who are attending here with us on this day before the Lord our God, and those who are not with us this day.
Okay, so we spoke about those who are not with us this day, and isn't it forward thinking? I mean, how do you perceive it to think for the future so far up to the far? Yes, Judy?
So it does sound forward thinking if you read it that way, but whenever I think of those who are not with us today, I think of those who have passed. So there's still a relationship with those people who are no longer with us.
Beautiful.
And the covenant, obviously, God made the covenant with Abraham. So how forward thinking is that? So the initial bargain deal was with Abraham and telling him how fruitful and large his people would become, like the sands of the earth and the stars of the sky. And I love what you said, Judy, because we have to remember history, but Lador Vador, it's vital that we inculcate our children so we can continue this beautiful culture and religion and tradition.
And also the people for the last 40 years and before that as slaves that brought us to this point.
Richie wanted to say something. Richie?
Yeah, just that I think it's interesting that it says that to enter into the covenant of the Lord your God with you this day, because we've entered into the covenant. We entered into the covenant Sinai, and as has been mentioned just now, other covenants. So it was interesting that this is, even though it says entering into the covenant, it is really not an initial covenant.
Like a renewal of wedding vows. And he has everybody together. You're all in. This is it. This is what you got to do. This is how we got here.
Yep. I just want to add to something that Judy said. Judy, you meant also to say the souls of those who are not among us today, but their souls are with us today, and we want to honor them for the future and with this covenant. I like that very much. Yes. Okay.
David has a comment.
Yeah. Who has a comment?
David.
Oh, David. Yes, David.
Thank you. And also, with those who are not standing here with us today, the people may have thought, wow, it's been 40 years. This covenant comes to an end. They've never had a covenant before. They may not have known that it was everlasting or continuing for future generations. They might have thought, we accomplished the task. We're finished. We're there. The covenant now comes to an end.
It's Meryl?
No, I'm just saying David's
Okay.
comment was interesting.
Yep. Okay. Patty, can you read? Can you
Sure. Well, you know that we dwelt in the land of Egypt, and that we passed through the midst of various other nations, and you have seen the detestable things and the fetishes of wood and stone, silver and gold that they keep. Perchance there is among you some man or woman or clan or tribe whose heart is even now turning away from the Lord our God to go and worship the gods of those nations. Perchance there is among you a stock spouting poison and weeds and wormwood.
Okay, hold on for a second. Okay, what we skipped a little bit, but we're going to move on. What is this message here? What does he hint towards here, or make it rather very clear? What is? It's like in education, the set induction. What is he going to tell us in the next part of the conversation? Why is he saying what he's saying now? What is the message here? Okay.
Well, he's going to talk about the continued relationship that will go on after this time.
Okay. And the Hebrew says, I want you to hear the Hebrew on verse 17, that it says, what asher levavo pone hayom. I want to translate it in English. Asher, which his heart going astray today. The heart going astray. What does it mean? The heart is not going straight. It goes astray. Isn't it a beautiful metaphor about the person? What does it mean?
Yeah, he's following other gods.
Or has bad thoughts, not being loyal. The heart is not at the right place. The word heart, lev, here is a metaphor that you're not, your thoughts are not together. You're not with me. Your heart is not with me. You're not totally committed to me. And then he's explaining what happens to those who are not committed. Okay. How about Gail? You haven't read today yet. So verse 18. Vaya b'sham'o. Once, yeah.
When such a one hears the words of these sanctions, he may fancy himself immune, thinking, I shall be safe, though I follow my own willful heart, to the utter ruin of moist and dry alike. The Lord will never forgive him. Rather, will the Lord's anger and passion rage against that man till every sanction recorded in this book comes down upon him, and the Lord blots out his name from under heaven.
Okay, thank you. So you see here, there's a crescendo. You know what's the crescendo in musical terms? He builds on what he said before, and it's strong. And what is willful heart? How would you translate it to English? Willful heart. Gail.
Well, I'm thinking what's being said here is someone who knows he's doing wrong, but persists on doing it. I mean, he's acknowledged to himself that he's going the wrong way, and yet, very relevant to Teshuva, you know.
Yeah, isn't it great? The emphasis on the individual. The individual can choose blessing or curse, but this guy is so slick, and he deserves additional punishment because he thinks he's under the radar. God won't notice him, and his ill doings will be kind of muffled and obscured by the good of the many. And there's soon a reference to Sodom and Gomorrah, but it's kind of like that, you know, the one, can you find 50 good men, one good 10, and, you know, Avraham couldn't even find the one good man. So the responsibility of each of us, I like that was emphasized here.
Right. So again, the lev, the heart comes back here. And in Hebrew, it says shrirut lev. Shrirut lev you can look at it in two ways. Shrirut is weak heart. Weak heart doesn't carry you far. You cannot run a marathon with weak heart, right? It doesn't take you far with shrirut lev. And shrirut can be also, in Hebrew, sorer means mean heart. If you're not a good person, mean, bad person, shrirut can be, that's the beauty of Hebrew here. You can look at it in two ways. Shrirut has weak heart, or shrirut has bad direction that the heart is taking you. I see that I spark some excitement here, so I have three hands at the same time. Let's take by seniority. No, I'm kidding. Okay, Judy, you're going to start first. Judy.
Muted. I'm sorry. I was looking at the phrase moist and dry alike and looked down at the commentary that said it probably is an expression meaning everything. And I thought that was such an unusual way of trying to be inclusive, moist and dry.
Nice. That's very nice. Gail, you wanted to say something?
Well, this is really problematic, because for this person who follows his own willful heart, the Lord, in verse 19, the Lord will never forgive him. So it sounds like this person does not have the opportunity to do teshuvah. And so I mean, we do have these discussions, like some of the people in the world who have done the most evil things, like the one who just got eliminated, and like Hitler, could they ever redeem themselves? But would they ever even find it in their hearts to do a sincere teshuvah? Doesn't sound. Some people just are so far down that road and they can never turn back.
Yeah, that's well said. And if you see what David said now, he wrote it down. Do you see the notes there? Old and young, which is, again, the covenant is inclusive, okay, for old and young and rich and poor and less influential and the stranger. Yes, well said. Okay, anyone else wanted to add to that before we move on? Okay, so from Judy to everyone, it just struck me as a strange way to express inclusivity. Very well said. Yes, thank you, Judy. Thank you. Okay, Bob Liss, Dr. Liss, can you read verse number 20? We are now at verse 19.
Yeah, I have the hurts, and actually I don't even know where we are. I've been listening.
No problem. Anyone else would like to read, and then Bob will take it after. Oh, Petty, thank you. 19. The Lord.
19, and what's the chapter?
Oh, we're in chapter 29. If you're in Etz Chaim, we're in page 1167. But Bob, we can go ahead with someone else, and you can join us in a minute.
Go ahead. I just was trying to find it.
Okay, so page 1167, and Petty, go ahead. The Lord
will never forgive him. Rather will the Lord's anger and passion rage against that man, till every sanction recorded in this book comes down upon him, and the Lord blots out his name from under heaven.
Okay, so you see, it gets harder and harder, and the decree is built. It's like a build out of the decree. Go read the next one. The Lord will
single them out from all the tribes of Israel for misfortune, in accordance with all the sanctions of the covenant recorded in this book of teaching. And later, later generations will ask, the children who succeed you and foreigners who come from distant lands and see the plagues and diseases that the Lord has inflicted upon the land, all its soil devastated by sulfur and salt beyond sowing and producing, no grass growing in it, just like the upheaval of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Okay, up to here. Wow, that's so much material here in one phrase. We could have done it phrase by phrase, but what is the bottom line here? Does anyone want to, if I had to ask you to summarize it, what is the bottom line in this saying here? And also, maybe I can give you a hint. Why is Sodom and Amorah is there? And also there is something about the soil here. So many things that are congested in one little phrase. Who wants to lead this conversation now? So let's start. What happened in Sodom and Amorah that it's now bringing it? Why is it such a big deal?
It's obliterated, and the name will be gone from history. That's a problem that I have, because we want to remember Hitler and all the horrible things. We want to remember history so we don't let it repeat itself. However, this means it's obliterated and cannot be recovered, like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Okay.
So, and why? It's because the people strayed from the covenant. So when that's when this happened. So it's not, woe is me, why did God do that to me? It's you strayed from God, people. Moshe is saying, you have a covenant. So you're breaking your half of the deal. And that's when God will punish you. And then we go into the whole thing about hiding his face and blah, blah, blah. But, the people's actions away from God's mitzvot cause their demise.
Judy, thank you. Meryl, Judy?
Yeah, my question is, you said Nitzavim means to stand. Is it more like standing together rather than omed, where you actually stand?
I think the word Nitzavim is stronger as you stand and listen very carefully. It's not just standing. It's you're very focused. You're very concentrated on what's to be said. Nitzav is more, I'm very much involved with what you're going to say. I'm listening.
Thank you.
Yes. Gail?
Yeah, Nitzav, I've done, I've followed through in the Torah for a few years now where Nitzav is used, where instead of just omed, instead of regular standing. And it's almost always at a momentous occasion, like at Sinai, or, in this case, something significant is happening. So it's a special kind of standing, as you were saying, paying full attention. Something really important is happening at that time.
Thanks, Gail. I'm tacking on to what you said. It's not my concept. It was a brilliant rabbi from Florida, Rabbi Shiner, and he was saying, upon superficial looking at the two joined parshiot, it looks like there's some disconnect, because Nitzavim is standing, Vayeilech is going. How do these two go together? But as Gail said, it's more like taking a stand. So Rabbi Shiner was saying, Nitzavim is taking a stand. But then what do? Then you have to go forth and do the actions based on your taking the stand. It's good to take a stand, but if you don't act upon it positively, then it's kind of for naught. I just thought that was a beautiful tie-in.
And I'll give you just another example. Nitzav comes from the Shoresh Yud Tzadi Vet. If you know what is Mutzav in Hebrew is like a shelter, like a bunker, like something very strong that protects you. So you're standing strong. You're standing in front of someone who is going to teach you something, but you're going to be very not moving, staying still. And that's something that I wanted to bring to your attention. But I want to ask you something, and let me take you back to verse 22. And look how I think God was here a little wrong, because Gofrid, sorry for saying it, Gofrid to Melach, sulfur and salt. He will bring sulfur and salt. What is the bottom line of sulfur and salt? You cannot grow anything in sulfur and salt, right? But look what the Israelis did with sulfur and salt in the Dead Sea. The whole production of Ahava factory, lotions, creams, all this stuff. Did God know that 3,000 years after that we'll be making billions of dollars even in the malls all over America, right? You see those people who sell the products of Ahava, right? All over so that wasn't a bad curse, because that sulfur and salt brought a lot of people to work, factories all over the world. They know Israel. So that wasn't such a bad curse. I just want you to know. He didn't think far enough here.
Well, it was a curse before Israeli ingenuity.
That's correct. Well said. Yeah. But maybe he would have used two different examples if he knew what's happening at the Dead Sea today. All right. Anything else that you want to say after that? David Kunz, what did he say? Can someone read what he said? Verse 21 is problematic
I'll
for me.
say it. Many times when bad things happen to us, the Iranians will say, oh, God has targeted that hurricane to you. But when bad things like earthquakes happen to Iran, of course, these are natural disasters. And I think Rabbi Schwartz would say that's exactly what they are. They're natural disasters. It happens in the natural order. But I do believe that God put the whole thing in motion. So to that degree, God sent them. The miracle is when the Red Sea parts when we needed it to part, not that it parted in general. So it's nuanced.
Well said.
Well said, of course. Yes. Okay. I wanted to just move forward. Oh my goodness, 9:45. Okay, so let's move forward. Who was the Beverly Freeland? Would you like to read a little bit? It seems like you can help us.
Sure. Put it up. Where are we reading?
Text.
What?
I don't have my
Okay.
I finished at 22, so 23.
20.
All the nations will ask, why did the Lord do this to the land? Or do you want to go?
23, yes. Okay, so Patty, go ahead. All the nations will ask.
Bev was going to read. Okay.
Okay, do you know? Okay, good.
Bev, are you with us?
No, she said she doesn't.
Okay.
She doesn't have it, Patty.
Okay. All the nations will ask, why did the Lord do thus to the land? Wherefore that awful wrath? They will be told, because they forsook the covenant that the Lord God of their fathers made with them when he freed them from the land of Egypt. They turned to the service of other gods and worshiped them, gods whom they had not experienced and whom he had not allotted to them. So the Lord was incensed at the land and brought upon it all the curses recorded in this book. The Lord uprooted them from their soil in anger, fury, and great wrath, and cast them into another land, as is still the case.
Here, why is the land being mentioned so many times? The land and the soil, and why is the curse so much directed to that part?
They can't survive without fertile land, and so land is synonymous with Eretz Yisrael, the promised land.
And it's agriculture society, okay? It's based on agriculture. And their survival, you're right, is based on the land, okay? It's not like there's no high tech, there are no cars. That's how they make their living at the time.
I have a question about that. Rabbi Schwartz said, we really don't know exactly where God said we should go, into this land. But all of that land was not fertile for agriculture, and we are an agricultural society. So was there a special area when you go back and look at things that was definitely fertile and some was not? So, when that sort of show where we were supposed to go, he said, there really wasn't any, you're supposed to go to Pikesville, Vices, Owings Mills, that there was not a specific place, but we had to go to a place that was fertile. So
okay, so another land also refers to Egypt when there was drought. So we went to Egypt. What is else another land? It refers to diaspora also, to Galut. Okay, Another land is outside of the, let me tell you, another land, America is not a bad land for the Jewish people. Another land is also good parts of the world for the people to be, all right? So that's what I think is another land, is when we were, I don't know if you know how many times Israelis had to be forced out of the country. The Romes, Nebuchadnezzar, we were forced so many times to leave this country and to get out to other lands. In some lands, we were very successful. In some lands, we weren't that successful, okay? Some lands brought us prosperity, knowledge, scholarship. Look at Babylonia, America, Eastern Europe. Look at Odessa, all the authors. All the, you know, so it's not such a bad curse to be in other lands for the Jewish people. Okay.
For a while, only for a while. History has proven it's good for a while.
Till we got thrown out. So
Yeah.
we learned things if we could take those things and use them in.
And I had an argument with a cousin of mine who is very, very religious this week over the phone. He's in Israel, I'm here, very Orthodox guy. And I said to him, how do you explain October 7th? I asked him, how can you forgive? And the sentence here is kind of what he told me, because we went out of the covenant. That's why, I mean, what kind of thinking is that for liberal Jews, as us, you know? And it was a very long discussion over the phone from Columbia to Pikesville, just to argue about it. Judy, yes.
Yeah, so yes, we are an agricultural society, but when did we become the people of the book? And I mean that generally, like we are an incredibly educated group of people, right? So being a farmer is amazing, but the education, the book knowledge is vital.
Great question.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you say this is when, at the end of Devarim is when we became the people of the book. When Moshe got everyone together and children, women, laborers, foreigners, you will listen to this, you will understand it, and minimally every 7 years, the king's going to read it all to you. So at a time when this was not happening anywhere, our people became knowledgeable with this literature, this group of stories and mitzvot, which
yeah, but to this point is very well taken. For becoming a farmer to becoming a researcher, being someone who knows text, there's a big gap from being it's a very good point, Judy. Yeah.
So certainly historically, when we went to all of these other lands of exile, we were precluded from almost every trade and occupation. So what could we use and what could we take with us, even in the camp? Our brains, our souls. So part of it was out of, certainly the value of education, but part of it was the necessity of developing, intellectual skills when we were precluded from participating in the trades and tasks of the non-Jews in these exiled lands.
Okay, Patty, thank you, Meryl. Patty?
But to those points, I mean, even originally, way back when, there was still a subset like Kohanim, Levites, and all that were the educators, the doctors, the teachers. There always was that subset.
A subgroup, yeah.
So that subset maybe like grew while the farmers, I don't know.
Yeah. And who is taking the farmers and the agriculture society today in today's world? The Moshavim, the Kibbutzim. We are still in agriculture, somewhat in agriculture society. We are in Israel very much so, as was then. Gail.
Look.
So in many cultures, the holy books and the ritual objects were the province of the elite, like the priests, not available to the people. I mean, I still get sort of emotional when I see lifting the Torah in services. The person turns around so everyone can see the Torah, and the Torah goes around, and we kiss it. You know, our holy book is available to everyone, and you know, one of my favorite verses in the whole Torah. It's coming up in 30 verse 12. You had in the beginning, Eyal, it is not in the heavens that you should say, who among you, you know, the Torah is accessible to everyone. And there's always, since Sinai, it had been written down. You know, the tablets were the holy objects that the people could see. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's something very, very special about Judaism, and probably how we eventually became the people of the book.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can I jump a little bit because I have another point to make here? Can we go to chapter 30 and verse 3? Verse 3. We have to jump because I want to show you a clip from Netanyahu, and I want to show you a couple other things. Chapter 30, verse 3. Okay, this is something that I'm getting emotional every time I read it. I love that part. Okay, Eddie, you want to read it again? Verse 3 on chapter 30, verse 3.
Yes.
Read it in English, please.
Then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and take you back in love. He will bring you together again from all the peoples where the Lord your God has scattered you. Even if your outcasts are at the ends of the world, from there the Lord your God will gather you. From there he will fetch you, and the Lord your God will bring you to the land that your father possessed, and you shall possess it. He will make you more prosperous and more numerous than your fathers.
Ready. So when you read that phrase, what does any thoughts about this phrase? What is it about? What is it about?
The ingathering of the exiles, and that every Jew has a place in Israel. And then, of course, you show the beautiful photo of the Ethiopian Jews, and there were other populations as well. But how remarkable that this small country, not outrageously wealthy, ingathered this group of Black Jews, some of whom and some components of the society even question whether they were, authentically Jewish. It's amazing.
To me, it means hope and faith that there will be better times coming.
Okay. Thank you. David?
I think it means the verse 2 before it, that even if you turned away, you can turn back. And that's the connection to the High Holy Days. It says, if you return. So there's always hope, and wherever you are. And so we know historically how the Jews were scattered throughout the world. So that's the history. It doesn't matter. God will bring you back.
Correct. Okay. I think we can do more, and I wanted to speak a lot about leadership and about how great is Moses here, and how sad it is. And if you were Moses, how would you feel that you worked so hard for 40 years, but you end up your life not being fulfilled? It's like you work 40 years for Bethel, and then you're not remembered. It feels like. But I want to read to you a quote about a leader just before we're going to show you. Before I show you the clip about Netanyahu. So it says the following: never follow a leader who is more in love with power than the people. Okay, and that's Moses actually. That is Moses. Okay. Don't go anywhere from here. I just want to stay in that phrase, and I want to Judy, why you wanted to say something here?
Pardon?
No, okay.
No, but I appreciate you saying let's not continue that part of the
Now,
conversation.
where did that come from?
It comes from Native American proverb.
Native American proverb.
Yeah.
Can you say it one more time?
I will.
Never follow a leader.
Never follow a leader who is more in love with power than the people.
Oh, I know.
Okay. I that's good. No one asked you. Okay. I wanted to show you the last minute of Netanyahu's speech yesterday. The last minute, very, very last. I was very moved by that.
Exist and against Israel's right to defend itself. And by the way, they amount to the same thing.
Back all the way to the back.
Right.
After generations in which our people were slaughtered, remorselessly butchered, and no one raised a finger in our defense, we now have a state. We now have a brave army, an army of incomparable courage, and we are defending ourselves. As the book of Samuel says in the Bible, Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. The eternity of Israel will not falter.
Okay. Let's go back to the last picture, Becca. So I really suggest that you look at YouTube and listen to this speech because it's so well connected to today's parsha. That could have been the whole lesson, what he's speaking about. Let's go to the picture that I wanted to ask you at the beginning of the class. It's 1:10. David, you wanted to say something before she brings the picture?
Yeah, I do. Netanyahu just used the critical word that also ties. Moses tells Joshua he has to have courage. It's not democratic. He has to have courage to do the right thing. And I think that that's a pretty interesting connection to what's going on right now.
And different kinds of courage,
Right.
Yeah. So
but what is the right? The problem is what you think the right. When I say you, one thinks the right thing is, and what somebody else thinks the right thing is, it becomes complicated because what is necessarily the right thing? I don't know.
Right. And to in a final words is what you see here is that the El Al airplane that rescued in 1991 the Ethiopian Jews, they took all the seats from the airplane
and took them off.
They took them off, and they cluttered thousands, hundreds of people in an airplane in order to save them. We did it in 2 days, about 35,000 people we brought in few days. And this is what we talk about this parsha. We bring the people, we gather the people from 120 countries all over the world into one land.
But
and ladies and gentlemen,
terribly. The problem is, read the book. I gave it to a friend. I read it. They treated the Ethiopian Jews terribly. They treated them like we treated, I hate to say this, the blacks.
So it wasn't the same, Beth, because there was complications. Those people were not understood and their culture wasn't understood.
Right.
It wasn't so much as
they gave blood.
Yeah.
They gave their blood away.
It's complicated. It's complicated, but today actually there's tremendous respect for Ethiopians and their culture. So it was a learning curve all around.
Yes.
Beverly, if I can, I want to quote Abraham Lincoln to your question about courage. He said that if he could have saved the Union without bloodshed, he would have allowed slavery. He had the courage to do what he did during the American Civil War.
Okay.
It was amazing how many people were killed. And that took courage to keep the Union going in the face of everything, including incompetent generals and everything else. Your question is always appropriate. It's like, who knows what to do? And you really don't know until sometimes generations later. But to not act is to act.
Well, that's it. That's what.
Right. Yeah. And that's what, Edmund Burke said. But we do know a lot. We people who gave the world monotheism, we do know basic values. So we do have a blueprint for how to act, and we can enlist that in difficult, challenging times.
And
Ladies
after
and
the class,
gentlemen,
we can talk politically too.
yes,
About
ladies and gentlemen, I just want to wish you all Shana Tova. Have a year filled with happiness, health, prosperity, and peace. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with you today. Am Israel Chai. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat
Yasher
Shalom.
Koach.